Hey guys, welcome back to QB's Barbecue and Bakery. I'm Joris. Today we're making pulled pork on the Weber kettle. Now, as you can hear from the sound of my voice, the amount of light we have, it is early. It is a Sunday morning. It's just 8 o'clock. But if you want to make pulled pork, you got to rise up early, right? It takes a long time to cook. And I want to make sure I take my time with this process. So we're going to use the Weber kettle, and we're going to use the slow ones here. My daughter yesterday said to me, "Daddy, you always cook on the bakery neck when you make videos. Why not make one on the Weber kettle again?" So I've prepared a nice piece of pork. I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes. But first, let's light up our Weber kettle with the slow ones here. So as I prepared the Weber kettle, you'll see that I've put aluminum foil on this side of my grates, and that is to allow the air to naturally flow towards the slow ones here, so that I get any false air on this side. In the corner here I've stacked 10 briquettes. Underneath those briquettes are 2 tumbleweeds, and now we're going to light those tumbleweeds. There you go. Brilliant lighter. As our briquettes are coming to temperature, I'm going to add a pint of hot water. And make it a lot easier to control our temps. Now let's put in a drip tray. One of the things I really love is whiskey besides barbecue. So today I got some oak chunks that are formerly used as whiskey barrels. So let's place these chunks about strategically here and there, so that we get these nice smoke aroma going during our cook. Now we can install the grates again. Close the lid and let it come up to temperature. For the initial getting up to temperature, we are going to have the top vent completely open and the bottom vent half open. As you see, I created the markings on my kettle. On this side it's fully open, this is fully closed. In the middle it's half open, and as we want to dial in our temperatures, we are going to close it to 40%, a third, or a quarter, just to play around with our temps. But once we dial it in to about 250 degrees Fahrenheit on the kettle, which is 120 degrees Celsius, we'll probably end up at this position. But for now, leave it halfway open. Now when you're using the slow ones here, these guys give you an excellent user guide to go with it. In this user guide, they completely explain how you want to set up your vent settings, how you light it up, but also some tips and some other cooking methods. Now today, it's simple. When our temperature reaches 150 to 175 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 80 degrees Celsius, we are going to close the top vent half and the bottom vent to just a crack. That way we can easily dial in our temperatures. So as the kettle is coming up to temperature, let me show you that beautiful piece of pork that we prepped yesterday evening. So let's make our injection. We start with 100 milliliters of apple juice, then 60 milliliters of apple cider vinegar, then 30 milliliters of Worcestershire sauce. Then we add our Jack Daniel's Tennessee honey. Then we give it a tablespoon of salt. And last but not least, a tablespoon of granulated garlic. And then we mix it all up, get it ready for injection into our pork neck. So let's take our pork neck out of the packaging here. What we're working with today is a Swedish free-range piece of pork neck. It comes out of the region of Stockholm. You can buy that at the Hanos shopping chain here in the Netherlands. As you can see, it has a beautiful piece of intermuscular fat. There's the apple of the pork neck, as they call it. It's a nice tender piece of meat. A lot of marbling in here. So we're going to make a beautiful, tasty piece of pulled pork from this. So now let's get it ready for our injection. So time to do our injection. Get your injection needle full and then you inject in a diamond pattern across the pork neck. So you start off with 2, then 3, then 2 again, and then 3 onwards, and so on and so on. When you inject, make sure that after you leave the fluids in, you put your finger on the hole that you leave behind to make sure that you don't get any squirt backs. That helps with cleaning up afterwards. So just go on, create your pattern, 2, 3, 2, 3. Make sure to do both sides of the pork neck. So now that we've injected, time to put on our rub. Now this is the rub that my buddy Rogier made. He lives a couple of houses away from me. He's an enthusiast like me. Make sure you get a heavy coat on your pork neck for this. We're going to let that soak in overnight. So we want plenty of rub on to give us that beautiful barbecue spicy flavor profile that we want. So now that we got it seasoned on all sides with the rub, let's cover it up with some aluminum foil and put it in the refrigerator overnight so that it's ready for us in the morning. So we have our piece of pork. This is a piece of pork neck. Actually, I know in America when you make pulled pork, you guys make it from the Boston butt, which is the shoulder. That cut of meat is practically impossible to get in the Netherlands. You have to special order it from a web shop or a butcher. So this is a neck. A neck is called a procureur in the Netherlands, and it's quite easily attainable. So while we wait for our kettle to come up to temperature, let me talk to you about the cooking process for our pulled pork today. So the pork neck is going to go on the kettle for 5 hours, or as soon as it reaches 72, 73 degrees Celsius core temperature, whichever comes first. At that point, I'm going to glaze it with a barbecue sauce. Then I will give it another 2 hours back on the kettle at 250 degrees Fahrenheit or 120 degrees Celsius, because I want to let that sauce tack on, adhere, create a additional layer of flavor on the bark. Then when we are a total of say 7 hours, or whenever we are at that 75 degrees Celsius core temperature, we are going to wrap our pork. I'll use aluminum foil for that. And then it's just letting it ride to come up to say 92, 93 degrees Celsius core temperature, 203, 205 Fahrenheit, where it should be fall apart, tender, just soft as butter. But all in all, it's going to take us about 9-10 hours before it's even ready to be rested for another hour. So there's a reason why it is so early on this Sunday morning, because if you want to have pulled pork for dinner, you gotta start early. Yeah. you see, I put a meat probe in the middle of our pork. We'll be monitoring the temperature. Yeah, we got some nice smoke going on. So we'll check back in 5 hours or when we reach our desired core temperature for stage 1. So we've had our pork neck on for 5 hours on the Weber kettle. It's been a bit of a challenge maintaining stable temps. The wind's playing a factor. It's November, it's colder. Plus, just didn't work that well. So I was up and down between 110 to 130 degrees Celsius all the time. Hope it didn't affect the end result too much, but let me show you where we are now at 5 hours. And the next step is we are going to cover the pork neck with a sauce, with a barbecue sauce, and let that tack on for another 2 hours to create that additional bark flavor layer. So let me show you. So we got a plane, tourist plane coming over. Hope you can hear it. So let's see. So we have some fat pooling here. The bark is set, doesn't come off anymore. We got a bit of a jiggle. I think it looks really nice. So I have been preheating a bit of a sauce here. That is, hope you can see it, this is Blues Hog Smoky Mountain. The rub is quite intense in terms of paprika and chipotle and hint. This is a little bit of a honey and sweet flavored sauce. Goes really well with it. So let's glaze it, but just dab it. You don't want to ruin the bark that we created. All we need to do is add layers of flavor now. So we can take that off. And now we are going to see a little bit of an open spot here. Make sure you get everything covered. And now let's give this 2 more hours inside the kettle, and then we'll start wrapping it. So it's been 2 hours since we've put on our sauce. It's time to wrap the pork neck in aluminum foil, but first I want to take you and give you a peek on where we're at with the bark, because I think it's going to look awesome. Come on, I'll move the camera closer. Yeah, wow, that bark looks spectacular. So let's put this in foil and finish our cook. First I'm going to take out the meter, because we're going to reposition that for the last phase. Now it's important that you double wrap your pulled pork, otherwise the aluminum foil might tear, because there's a lot of sugars on the grate. So let's reposition this in the middle, and then I'm not going to add any more liquids, because I want to preserve the bark as much as we can. There's enough fluids from the injection in the pork neck anyway. So we're going to wrap this up. Make sure to get it tight. And let's do and now let's put it back on the barbecue. And let's not forget, we are going to insert our meter back in. Still got plenty of coals left. So it's time to finish the cook until we reach our desired core temperature of 93 to 95 degrees Celsius. Okay, we are at 92, 93 degrees core temperature. So time to take our pulled pork off and give it a probe test. We want to see if our sensor pulls in. So, oh yeah, that is, yeah, it goes through like butter. So that means it's done. I'm going to take out the meter probe and I want to let it breathe for just a few minutes, because otherwise it will continue to cook. So let's open it up. I mean, look at that. That is a thing of beauty. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes to breathe and then close it up and let it rest. And make sure to catch all those drippings and all the fat that's come out of it, because we're going to blend it with our barbecue sauce. So the pork neck has rested. It's ready to be pulled. But I told you on the beginning of the video that my buddy Rogier, who lives a couple of houses away, he made the rub that we use today. So it's only fair that he shows up, explains a little bit about the rub, but also has a taste when we pull this pork neck. So Rogier, tell us, what about the rub?
Yeah, thank you, and I'm very grateful for inviting me for this special moment to test my own beautiful rub. And it's a rub based on paprika, galanino peppers, garlic and onion, and a lot of pepper and salt in it, and the salt is being used to get pulled into the meat. So I'm looking very forward to have a taste.
Yeah, it's a rub with a kick. I had a taste. It slaps you in the face. Wow. So I had to put a kind of a sweet sauce to balance it out, because otherwise it will be punch and punch and punch when you get that meat. So let's start pulling our pork neck. So let's unwrap. Rogier just nicknamed it Devil's Pork, so I'm gonna put that in the title because of all the spiciness. Oh man.
Oh, that smells, it's beautiful.
Yeah. This looks awesome. So what I'm going to do is, we want to preserve all the fluids. So I'm going to try and pick this up if it doesn't fall apart. And then we're going to... So now let's see how easy this falls apart, right? I mean, it should be just like... That's a big fat OMG, right? I mean, look how simple this falls apart.
And the sound of the juiciness is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's squishy and mushy and it's all kinds of goodness. It's so simple. This, you don't even need the bear claws.
Well done, neighbor.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. So, so now we got a taste. I mean, just look, a little piece of the bark. Take it. It's
Cheers, big fella.
Oh man, yeah.
That is so juicy and so nice.
Wow.
So what did you inject into your meat?
I put apple cider vinegar, apple juice, Worcestershire sauce, Jack Daniel's Tennessee honey, salt and garlic.
It really brings it into the balance with the very spicy rub on top of it.
It does it.
Yeah.
It's really good. So yeah, it falls apart. It's super tender. So this process that I followed today, I was inspired by Dennis of Nostrils Barbecue. Great guy, makes excellent videos. So the process was inspired by him. Also the injection. The rub from Rogier, I did it on the Weber kettle with the slow and sear. I think it worked really well. He owns a kettle with a slow and sear as well. So I'm sure he's gonna try now. So I think we have a really nice dinner prep for the night. So guys, that brings me to what I always say. Don't forget, fail fast, learn fast, just keep grilling. And if you like the video, you know what to do.
And I'm gonna dig in.
See you later, guys.